For years had passed since the scandal that shook the village of Omoni. The once respected Deacon Daniel was no longer the powerful church leader everyone admired. After the shame of his affairs became public, Holy Fire Deliverance Church removed him from leadership completely. The pastor announced it during Sunday service. "Leadership must reflect righteousness," the pastor said sadly before the congregation. Daniel sat quietly at the back of the church while villagers whispered around him. Some mocked him openly. Others avoided even greeting him. The shame became too much. A few weeks later, Daniel packed his belongings quietly and left the village before sunrise. Nobody knew exactly where he went. And just like that, the man who once commanded respect disappeared from Omoni. But while Daniel escaped the shame, Grace remained behind carrying the pain. Life became extremely difficult. Every morning before daylight, Grace walked long distances to buy vegetables from nearby farms. She sold tomatoes, peppers, onions, and okra in the local market just to feed Samuel and Esther. Some days they ate only once. Some nights Grace pretended she was not hungry so her children could eat the little food available. Still, she never stopped praying. One rainy evening after returning from the market, Grace sat on the floor of her small house while her children slept beside her. The roof leaked slowly as rainwater dripped into a metal bucket nearby. Grace folded her hands tightly. "God," she whispered through tears. "I have suffered enough. Please remember me." That night, she cried herself to sleep. But sometimes, life changes when we least expect it. A few weeks later, Grace was arranging vegetables in the market when a black SUV stopped nearby. Villagers turned immediately. Cars like that rarely entered the small village market. A tall man stepped out wearing simple but expensive clothes. His name was Michael. Michael was a businessman from a nearby town who recently moved back to the village after losing his wife to illness 2 years earlier. He lived alone with his 7-year-old daughter, Zara. Unlike many wealthy men, Michael was quiet, humble, and respectful. As he bought vegetables from Grace's stall, he noticed how polite and hardworking she was. "Thank you, sir," Grace said softly after packing his tomatoes. Michael smiled warmly. "You always sit here alone." Grace nodded. "Life must continue," she replied quietly. From that day, Michael began visiting the market often. At first, it was just greetings. Then conversations. Then laughter. Slowly, Grace began smiling again. For the first time in years, somebody looked at her with kindness instead of pity. One afternoon, little Zara accompanied her father to the market. While Michael bought vegetables, Zara sat beside Esther and Samuel laughing happily. Children have a way of healing broken hearts. Weeks turned into months. Michael learned everything about Grace's painful past. And instead of judging her, he respected her even more. One evening after church service at their new village church, Michael walked Grace home. The moonlight shined softly across the dusty road. Then he stopped walking. "Grace," he said gently. Grace looked at him nervously. "I know you have suffered," Michael continued. "But I want to give you happiness again." Tears filled Grace's eyes immediately. Michael smiled softly. "I love you." Grace covered her mouth in shock. For years, she believed love had ended for her. But standing there under the quiet village moonlight, hope returned again. Months later, the village celebrated their wedding. It was simple but beautiful. Women danced joyfully. The church choir sang loudly. Samuel and Esther smiled brighter than they had in years. And little Zara held Grace's hand proudly throughout the ceremony. After the wedding, Grace and her children moved into Michael's beautiful home at the edge of the village. For the first time in many years, there was peace. Michael treated Samuel and Esther like his own children. He paid their school fees, cared for them, and guided them with love. Soon, The children even began calling him Daddy. Grace often sat outside in the evenings watching her children play together in the compound while Michael laughed beside them. Sometimes she remembered the years of pain, the betrayal, the suffering, the lonely nights. But now, God had given her another beginning. A better one. Because sometimes life breaks us before leading us to where we truly belong. And sometimes, after the deepest heartbreak, love finds us again.